Good news, everyone! It's time for another CD update from yours truly, Brain Smasher. Thanks for joining me once again. I got my ears lowered. What do you think? You are tuned in for just a regular old CD update. Well, CD collection update, I should say. We're going to be listening to... Man, this album's so good. Misery's Omen. Album is called Hope Dies. This is a Australian band. Death, doom, a little bit of black, kind of all over the map. Just an amazing melding of several different styles. Worked really well. This is on Worship Hymn Productions, Norwegian label. Marty Worm put out this band's first EP, which is an excellent fucking release. I highly recommend these guys. Members of Portal, Stargazer, Mournful Congregation, all those amazing Aussie bands, Cauldron Black Ram, and the like. Check out Misery's Omen. I did get in two things since we last convened. This is a CD by a band called Maachi, I guess I would pronounce that. It's a German band, but it almost sounds like an Italian word or something, I'm not sure. Megace. Pardon the album cover. This is like the worst album cover I could ever imagine. Anyways, I've had this on my radar for a really long time. It's a German progressive, that sounds a little loud, sort of progressive thrash band. The things that I really love about this are the music is kind of unique. The vocalist is amazing. She's a female vocalist. She is so fucking capable of singing like a dirty thrash sort of style. She'll bust out into some like fucking super operatic sort of high-pitched kind of things. It fits the music really well, and the overall tone of the album is just fucking great. Real beefy production. I just love the way everything sounds. It came out in 1999. The artwork in this is just awful, so don't let that be a judge of the music. It came out in 99, but it really sounds like something that was recorded a little bit earlier. It may have been recorded like on a 2-track DAT tape or something. But yeah, it's really weird, interesting stuff. It kind of reminds me of Canada's Hexenhaus. That was another kind of proggy, technical thrash band from the 80s, 90s or so. And another thing I got in from a subscriber. Thank you, Irish. This is Jagged Mouth's Luring. This is their first release as far as I know. He sent me this release just because he's a fan and likes my videos, so hey, I appreciate it. Good looking tape here. Sludgy, sort of southern doom. This band is from Albuquerque, New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, check that out if that sounds like your kind of thing. Kind of like, I guess, Brain Oil is a band I might compare him to. Those guys are killer. So, onto the CDs. This first band, you know, when I pulled out this stack, I looked at it real quick and I was like, huh, what's that? This is Gorgor, a band I know nothing about off the top of my head. And I don't even know if I knew I had this CD until I pulled it out just a minute ago. As you can see, sometimes they get kind of lost in the mix. There's a shitload of CDs up there, and I forget what I have from time to time. So the best I can remember of this band is that they're kind of mediocre. You know, meat and potatoes, sort of black metal. I can't remember the last time I listened to this, but I want to say I was a fan of them way back in the day, early on. So I should probably give this album a listen. Here with Gorgor. This album came out on cksI. It's called, looks like self-titled, I guess. Anyways, yeah, that's that. Next, this is a killer band, Cyanide, Descent into Hell. Killer old school death metal from Chicago. One of the US's greatest exports in the death metal world that isn't from Florida. Great songwriting on this. I've had this album forever. Red Light Records, I guess, put this out. Never heard of that. I bet, but these guys are still around today. Most of their stuff is killer. I should probably own a couple more of their full lengths, but I don't. In my head, this is their best album, but if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. What's a Cyanide album that I should check out? It's been a long time since I checked in on them. I can't name off the top of my head any other releases of theirs that I've heard. Man, I haven't listened to these guys in a long time. This is Church Bazaar. I don't hear anybody talking about these guys. They're not active, but this is one of the early releases for Hell's Headbangers. When they were first coming out, they were signing some of these bands and trading with our label back in the day. And so Church Bazaar was one of those bands they put out a couple of different things from. I also have Church Bazaar's demo, I want to say, and a 7-inch or maybe 2. The 7-inch has a killer cover of a Dissection song on it. But so this is a collection of all their stuff. 2003 to 2007. They weren't around for very long, but they did manage to put out enough material to fill 2 discs. So I do recommend highly checking this out. It's pretty straightforward, kind of like, I don't know, alcoholic sort of satanic thrash metal. But it has a really unique sense of melody to it. And I found their songs, when I was listening to them, to be pretty memorable and enjoyable. So it made sense that they covered Dissection. Let's see, the cover would be on here. If I can find which song it was. I don't know. I'm not seeing it on here, but it's on here. It's a Dissection cover. So this is a Compendium release. All the recorded materials from their demos and on. Highly recommend picking this up if you still can. I'm not sure if it's sold out or not. But yeah, I miss this band quite a bit. Next, wow, this is a band out of Norway called Karanzan. Magagagog is the album. I remember hearing about this in so many catalogs back in the day. And it was on my radar because this came out on Nocturnal Art Productions, which is the label that is still active today, run by Samoth from Emperor. And I was and still am a really big Emperor fan. And some of the stuff that came out on Nocturnal Art was really good. There was Limbonic Art, Thou Shalt Suffer. What's the other one? That's gonna space me too. Anyways, this is a little too weird for me, honestly, from what I remember. It's one of those one-man bands that didn't really have the technology to pull off a decent record back in the day, I want to say. So it's kind of like, well, if you would have had maybe a good drummer and a good producer to pull off this album, it may have been more listenable, but it's like, best I remember, it's like really bad drum machine on there, and it was just kind of wound up sounding like a sloppy mess. So I'm glad that I didn't buy this back in the day for full price. I picked this up a couple of years ago at cheapo for a couple of bucks, just to satisfy my curiosity. And I guess I would say Napalm was one of those labels that I will probably buy anything from if I find it for cheap enough. Next, we've got The Choir of Vengeance. Now this is maybe kind of a demo, maybe a self-release kind of thing. I'm not sure. I bought this from Necropolis way back in the 90s. This band is composed of 2 members from Dawn, from Sweden, the Swedish band, and 2 members from some other band. I can't really think exactly who it is, but it's Lars Tangmark from Dawn, Karsten Larsen, who I think was in Mythleton, Rickard Martinson, I couldn't tell you who he is from. Anyways, I want to say it's like Dawn and Mythleton made up this band. Nothing to write home about production or packaging wise, but this is just a killer little demo EP, 5 songs or so. I'm a really big fan of the drumming of Lars Tangmark. Is that his name? The drummer from Dawn, the first drummer from Dawn, who wasn't Morth or Jacques Peterson as he is known. Really big fan of that guy. He now plays in Falconer. So this is a really cool thing to check out. I'll put a link in the description, as I do in all my videos. I've talked about this album a few times in my previous videos, but man, I can't do it enough. This is the Chasm, Far-Seeing the Paranormal Abysm. This fucking rules. I don't care what you like. You can't deny the fucking amazing achievement that is this album. There's several instrumental tracks on here. They are kind of a technical current thrash metal band. They're kind of like there's a little bit of a retro feel, almost like, the Chasm, I guess, haven't really been around for the whole time the metal has been around. I want to say they came about in like the early 90s, but they pull from some influences of 80s bands, and they give it a really modern feel, kind of like Vector. They're kind of, Johnny-come-latelys, but they give it a modern sound, and it sounds like it totally makes sense. This is kind of right along those lines, only it's a little bit more 80s style thrash mixed with death metal. It's kind of about 50-50 in there, but I can't recommend this enough. This is so fucking cool. The instrumentation on here is great. The recording is excellent. These guys are working on a new record I just found out today. Stoked to hear that. I've seen them live a couple of times. They're so good. This is one of their earlier albums. This is Death Cult for Eternity, The Triumph. It's been a while since I listened to this because this one is so fucking good. 9 songs on this. Pretty neat packaging. I found this used at a store a couple of years ago. This is on Oz Productions in 1998. Yeah, I want to say this one was a little more straightforward death metal and not quite as well produced as that Far Seeing album. Far Seeing the Paranormal Abysm, even though the Chasm seems to be a still active band, I don't know how they're ever going to top this album, but I'm going to enjoy seeing them try, I guess. Next, this is a band no one seems to know about, Charnal Valley. The guitar player on this is a good friend of mine, Marty Worm, and he should be a good friend of yours because he's also a YouTuber who talks about the same albums that I do, only in a different way, a little more cute, if you will. Anyways, this is Marty's band, Charnal Valley. They're not still active as far as I know. The drummer and singer and bass player, I want to say, is also the guy who runs Paragon. There's a picture of him, and there's my kitty friend there, Marty. This is a really interesting release, and I intend to get the rest of their stuff. To the untrained ear, I guess I would say this could come off as middle of the road sort of black metal, but it's really strange. The riffing is very interesting, and this is one of the few times I've had a chance to really understand Marty as a musician. I've known him as a friend for many, 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 many years, and a writer and as a fan of metal, but you don't get a chance very often to hear what Marty is like as an artist, because he puts so much more of his time into promoting other people's art than his own. So I highly recommend you support Marty and try and find a copy of this Charnal Valley album. It's really unique. What else was I going to say? Oh, Marty also plays in a band called Kolga with Austin from Panopticon. They ought to have a new album out here, I don't know, really long time. Keep waiting, I would say. But looking forward to that. You can get the demo for Kolga on the Bandcamp page of Flenser, I want to say. So check that out. Next, man, this is a recent acquisition. This is Ceremonium, No Longer Silent. 90s American death metal, kind of like I said, Cyanide. This is maybe a little more technical, a little more brutal, but this is some great songwriting. And track 6 has a cover of Darkthrone's Kromlech. I've heard this band described, and I think I agree pretty well, that if Darkthrone had continued to play death metal from the first album, Soulside Journey, this represents what they might have sounded like after that album. I want to try and pick up their other album. I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's pretty fucking expensive. Next, I've got Cerebral Fix, killer late 80s, early 90s thrash band. This is on Road Racer Records. I want to say this is a Canadian band, maybe? I don't know, I'm probably talking out of my ass, but yeah, just straightforward thrash metal. I found this in a used bin many years ago. Nothing really all that unique to write home about with this band. I don't listen to this all that often, as I don't listen to thrash very often, and when I do, it's mostly Creator Destruction, Tankard, shit like that. Lastly, another kind of weird release. This is a band I don't ordinarily care for, Cephalic Carnage, but this is a 20-minute EP, one song, all Doom. And it's a really good song. They did a really good job, and I really love the packaging on this thing. I love these little clear CDs. And then it comes in the jewel case with no booklet, but like a logo section there. This came out on Willow Tip back in, gosh, hell, I don't know, maybe 2002 or 3. The grindcore stuff, yeah, it's kind of fun, I guess, but I don't really care for that kind of stuff. Seen them live a couple of times, didn't really do anything for me. But this is, yeah, a good little Doom EP, about 20 minutes worth. You probably pick it up for a couple of bucks if that sounds interesting to you. But that's all I've got for now. I've got some more CDs coming in. I hope 2017 is treating you a lot better than last year. Keep tuned in, and if you haven't subscribed by any chance, please do so, because I've got a giveaway coming up, and you might be able to get a free CD or 2 or something else out of it if you participate in my giveaway. So I suggest you subscribe for that, and because I offer good content. I like to think I do. Anyways, thanks for joining me. See you next time.